guys, this is Master. Now, if you wonder what the heck this is, okay, so I'm eventually going to make Retops 22, which I'm going to, rename to Video Game Waifu instead of Game Crushes. Now, what the heck, Pikmin, you may ask? Well, I don't know, I just feel like, I feel like, 4 years old right about now? Ish. So, and, well, my ideas for, this stuff actually as, quite grown since 2011, so might as well just redo it. I mean, I probably would just make Retops 3, however, I don't know, I'm not exactly ready to remake that yet, because I think might want to add characters that I never knew about before. But that's the point. So this is not that list. This is not Retops 22. This is okay. So for those of you who actually do go to my Twitter, you see an image of just listing off names. So yeah, this is actually a preliminary list. So just so you know, this is that list is in no particular order, and some characters actually left, and some characters actually entered that list since. So I'm gonna list off, characters that were on, that image over there that I'm not putting on the actual top 22, and also just pointing out several different things. Okay, so waifus. Yeah. Now, here's the thing about the whole waifu list. The rules of the waifu list, I'm going to mention this in the actual video, are the following. 1, I have not mentioned this character in the original top 22. So that means that, Rosalina, Nehru, Zelda, Sabrina, Salis, and Daisy are not going to be on this Retops. However, they will still apply. It's just that they're not on that list. Okay. Now, how to be a waifu in my eyes. 1, pure hotness ain't cutting it. If it's just by appearance, it ain't going to cut it. If you're gonna go for pure hotness, you gotta be a decent reason why. So let's start off with Darkstalkers. You might think that because I have Morgan as kind of a character in my channel, with the character who just brings stuff from the treasure chest, and eventually it's going to be its own character in Counterattack whenever I start finishing it. No, I don't count Morgan as a waifu, because, well, Morgan is just not the kind of character who's waifu material. So she would rather mess with me, then kill me, then mess with me in the afterlife, than be a waifu. That's kind of what Morgan acts like. Next up, Shenko. I mean, there's some standards, but I'm not putting the dead in this list. Okay, maybe I am, but that's a can of worms. But Shenko, nah. And also a kind of odd thing. I actually thought that the hottest character in the game is actually QB. I'm not joking. After Morgan, duh. But that's QB. However, I used whenever I did play Darkstalkers at one time, I just don't find QB that easy of a character to actually use. I wanted to actually use QB, however, I ended up being decent with another Darkstalkers character. So I can't say that I'm a big sucker for QB, at least in regards to this Retops. Okay, now next character to mention, because pure hotness ain't cutting it, Samus. Now, you know that, yes, I do play lots of Nintendo, which I only have Nintendo consoles. Samus ain't not... I am not putting Samus on that list, because Samus... Okay, the thing, personality-wise, Samus is, way too serious. She's, not into it. So, Nintendo not into it. It's kind of like, Lightning from Final Fantasy 13, of course. Well, we got Knights Commander, but I'm not gonna open that can of worms. But Samus is similar to Lightning in that regard, and nah, it's just not for me. Now speaking of Final Fantasy, another character that ain't cutting it. Now I did mention the original top 22 that I played and beat Final Fantasy 7. I do not care for Tifa at all. Heck, I'm more a fan of Aerith. No, I'm not a fan of Yuffie, but I'm not a fan of I'm not exactly the biggest fan of Tifa. And I don't really care for Tifa. Similarly, I don't really care about Yuna. Now, even though I once played Final Fantasy X, actually got me to the Final Fantasy series because I was playing it at a cousin's house in Manhattan. However, that's my only exposure to Yuna. So I'm not going to. So I don't care about Yuna. Similarly, Lulu for Final Fantasy X. Just because she's like hotness and stuff doesn't mean that And besides, she ends up with Waka, which is like what got in her mind that it just what that doesn't make much sense. Well, like for someone who hasn't played Final Fantasy X as far as like the beginning. And I have mentioned Lightning for Final Fantasy 13. For me, the hottest character in that game is Fang. However, but mostly because of the characters that actually are on that list. I just really don't care about Fang. Alright, so those are the characters that are obviously out due to pure hotness. Now, time for characters that were on, that initial list, but I decided to cut out. So I'm going to start with characters that, just because I like playing as them, or just because I like them in general, doesn't mean that I want them as a waifu. And those characters are Sakura from Street Fighter, Lilith from Darkstalkers, Christy from Tekken, and Elena from Street Fighter. Also, Ruby Hart from Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That's funny, all of them are fighting games. Yeah, all of them are fighting games. Like, just because I like a certain character doesn't mean that they are on a waifu list. And just so you know, I have not mentioned Chun-Li at all because I don't, I'm not into Chun-Li, like, as much as some people are. Heck, I think the hottest character in Street Fighter is Elena. So, and even then, she's not on that list because there are some characters that I'm more familiar with that she do deserve to be on this list, but no. Next up are characters that I'm not exactly familiar with, so I don't see like why I should put that on the list. And just like with characters like Yuna, Fran from Final Fantasy 12, Keystitz from Final Fantasy 8, and the character Lubin from Gunvolt. Now, I'm gonna start with Gunvolt. Now, I played the demo for Gunvolt, and since then I actually did research on who the heck Lumen is, and the game I tell you who Lumen is. All Lumen is just an actual projection of some other little girl, and I think they named her Jewel. And even then, Jewel, the girl, hates being Lumen, well, because like the main evil group uses Lumen as some sort of propaganda. It uses Lumen's like singing ability as some sort of propaganda. So it's kind of like, what if Evil Corporation took over Hatsune Miku? Or Hatsune Miku in general, depending on your point of view. But, yeah. No, not Lumen. Now, when it comes to Fran Keystitz, I'm going to start with Keystitz. Yes, I do think she's much, much hotter than Rinoa. But, because I'm not familiar with Final Fantasy VIII, I'm not adding on the list. Although, granted, there's a character that's actually on the list I'm not so familiar with, but, again, it's a different story, and I'll get to it when I get to the actual video. Now, Fran. Okay. Bunny people. Now, this will not be the last time I'll mention bunny people on this kind of videos, okay? But while I do find Viera, the species, incredibly hot, Fran herself, not so much. I don't know, I mean, just Fran herself, not so much. Like, example, I was playing, like, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance and A2. I make sure that after my own character, the next best character is a Viera. And, I usually do keep, like, 2, maybe 3 Viera. I think there's 3 Vieras each in each game, but I don't even remember, because even though I did LP Tactics Advance, I did play Tactics Advance a few other times before that, and I have not, showed any video of A2, because, well, I don't know, not exactly need to. But yeah, I usually keep 2 or 3 Vieras on my clans on both games, and even less so on every other race. So yes, I do like the Viera as a race, but Fran as a character, kind of bland. I mean, yes, the Viera themselves are bland because they don't have set characters. Like, I think Shara, what's her name? Shara from Tactics Advance. I think has more personality than Fran. So I'll just leave it at that. So Fran Keystitz not on the list. Next are Okay, next is Crimea from Majora's Mask, because I don't know how to classify Crimea. Because, like, Crimea just is this NPC that it's part of a huge side quest involving Romani, the Romani milk, the Chateau Romani place, and freaking aliens of all things. But I don't know. I just it was initially on the list, and for sure was going to be on the list, but I decided against it because, again, I have not played Majora's Mask. I've only know Majora's Mask from watching my brother play it, and even then, I know enough what I need to know about Crimea, but I decided ultimately against it. So I was ultimately you know what? I don't think Fran makes I would want to Crimea as a waifu, because I don't. I wouldn't. I'll probably forget her easily, so I will not even bother. Okay, next up is Valerie, who is nearly on that list. Valerie's this close to the list. However, I decided not to because I think I was originally going to put Lorelei with that on that list as well. However, I decided last minute, the last possible thing before I say I'm done with the list was keep Lorelei on the actual list. However, Lorelei and Valerie are both not on the list because of a rule that I'm also, because even as I also said that I said the no characters I've already mentioned, but I also said one per series and at most 2 people per slot. Now, even though it's most 2 people per slot, but mostly because the second person I will mention, but I would not put on the actual list. So I'm gonna mention Valerie first. I like her gym. Cause I like Valerie's gym because it's basically the same Sabrina, but put adult tree house. And her design is pretty amazing. However, she kind of creeps me out because she wants to be a Pokemon. I've already mentioned that in my X and Y tops. I don't know, she might creep me out, but whatever. And Lorelei, Lorelei is in a similar light to Daisy, in that I find it pretty hot, even though when I was much younger. However, when I'm much older, I find that I'm gonna care more about Sabrina than you with Lorelei, even though Lorelei in the anime, enough said. So yeah, I'm just gonna go against Lorelei, even though she was the original Ice Master, which is pretty awesome because before Gen 3, heck, even during Gen 4, my favorite type was Ice. However, because Gardevoir, I do prefer the second type now. And just spoil a reason why Gardevoir was one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. Great. Now, that's that. Now, the next character I'm gonna mention is Mona from Warioware. Because Mona initially was my favorite character in Warioware. However, once I started playing Game of Wario, Ashley became my favorite. So, and then I questioned myself, wait a minute, do I really want a waifu? And I said, heck no. Just because I like her doesn't mean I want her as a waifu. Just similar to the fighting game girls. Okay, and now the last character I'm gonna mention before actually doing the actual tops, which is gonna come a bit later, is Sharla. Now, okay, I'm not gonna mention why I don't like Xenoblade Chronicles. I've already mentioned in many videos. I could probably, if I have to, I'm gonna need to make a thoughts for Xenoblade Chronicles before I, just to finalize everything, put all the reasons why I don't like it in one video, so I have to mention it every single time. But it's actually Sharla's also in a similar light to the fighting game girls and to the fighting game girls, because Sharla's my main in Xenoblade Chronicles. I can't play as any other character but Sharla for the majority of the game, because again, it's a certain early game boss. After you get Sharla in the game, that I have a difficult time to be as Shulk, a difficult time to be as Ryan. Heck, I have a difficult time playing Ryan. I have sometimes a difficult time seeing Ryan, because I don't like Ryan. Even though he's a tank, he's kind of too dumb to live. So, no. So, I don't like using Ryan, period. However, when I switched to Sharla, I realized, wait a minute. So, I could play ranged, so the enemy won't have to deal with, I can just get away from the enemy and focus what I'm supposed to do, because I'm still I was still a newbie at the game, so I have no idea how to play because I was playing blind the almost entire way through. So I managed, so after I beat that certain boss, I decided, I'm going to stick with Sharla for the entirety of the game, and I did. Even I did try other characters, it's just like I'm most comfortable with Sharla. But it doesn't really help that I based how I play Xenoblade by how I play Monster Hunter. I know it's like kind of a bad like comparison to go through. However, that's actually how I play Xenoblade. I play Xenoblade the way I play Monster Hunter, which is if I don't attack really fast, or attack like hit a lot and really fast, then it's not worth it. Then otherwise I'm playing ranged. For example, like all the other characters except for Character 7, which I probably shouldn't put spoilers, but whatever. Character 7 has like dual wielded knives and attack really quickly. So it was like near end game I actually started using that character. However, I mostly played Sharla. And while Sharla does look attractive, she is dumb enough that she goes to end up with Ryan. But granted, like I can understand why she ends up with Ryan. However, I also was trying to get it like if Xenoblade had like a similar like pairing up system like Fire Emblem Awakening, I would definitely put her with freaking Dunman. Because I don't know, it's just my personal thing. All right, so that's pretty much all I'm gonna say about the preliminaries list and what I think like should be on this list, but not really. But should be on this list, but these characters are not. Now, and as you can see, this video is long, so I really didn't want to, put like include all these characters on the actual tops as honorable mentions, because well, it's already 17 minutes now, so I really shouldn't be talking more. So that's it for all the quote honorable mentions on the top 22 and just character types that I don't really want on as a waifu. So see you guys later for the actual Retop 22 video game waifus.